In today's video, we're going to break down how to help your player start to accelerate faster. The game has radically shifted. It's no longer a game of just straightaway linear speed. The truth is your first 3 steps really matter. And we're going to talk about how if you want to get faster, it really starts with your stopping position. And I'm going to break down the one thing I do to a skate, specifically the bottom part, the steel, the hollow, and how I change that for my players to give them a mechanical advantage. My name is John Swanson. This is X7 Hockey Talk. You're going to see my players and alumni skating in the USHL, playing college Division I, Division III, AHL, NHL, and the Olympics. And my goal with this video is to help educate you, the parent, and the players to understand how your skates should be sharpened. The truth is, I get asked this all the time. Coach, what should I sharpen my skates at? And when I give them the answer, it honestly shocks them. The first response is, really? Are you sure? But he's so young. Shouldn't it be sharper? And I'm about to explain why that's not the case. So before we jump in, we have to understand this. The player that can slide on the ice is going to have a better chance to accelerate faster than the player that can't slide on the ice. And you're probably wondering, what are you talking about? So I'm going to show you a video. The player that can do a single leg slide has a tendency to have better acceleration than the player that can't. So this player is performing what is called a outside edge, inside foot stop, and they're essentially sliding about 18 feet. And you're probably wondering, how does that connect with acceleration? Well, that's what we're about to find out. See, if a skate is too sharp, it grips into the ice quicker. And what this means is that when you perform that test, you're only going to be able to slide about 3 to 5 feet. And that's because, not because you're a bad skater. It actually has nothing to do with skating mechanics. It often has to do with your edges. And so if we look at a skate, so this is the outside edge, skates upside down, outside edge, inside edge. And the more grip you have, the less slide you have, or they call it glide. And so a lot of players are getting their skates sharpened at 3/8, maybe half, or even 5/8. And when we go to perform this, they will struggle on sliding, right? The skate won't be able to slide, and it's because the hollow is deeper on those skates. Like a 3/8 skate has a very deep hollow. The other way to think about it is that that blade is really going deep into the ice, so they can't slide. It makes them stop quicker. And you would think, well, John, if we want to accelerate faster, we have to stop faster. Kind of. See, the problem with that is that when you go to slide on those skates, for you to dig your edge in, you only have to go to about here. Now, if we study track, right, we look at sprinter, how they get in the blocks and they get in that ankle position for their acceleration, it's very similar to hockey, except for part of it is we're here, right? So we're moving a lot laterally, like if we're doing a crossover step, we're going this way. And I want to ask you something. If you were to stop and be straight up like this, or you were to stop and start from this position, which one from a biomechanical structure are you going to be able to put more power and force output? Well, if you guess this position, you're right. My background is 15 years in strength and conditioning. We studied movement and how to ultimately apply more force. In a foot that is like this, that wants to cross over, it's going to be able to apply more force into the ice this way. And so the problem with stopping is if the skate is too deep of a hollow, it only gets into this position. Now, when you actually have a shallower hollow, they have to lean on their edges more. And what's interesting is they actually can stop in the same distance. The cool part is when you move to, like, say, a 3/4, you can do that single leg slide for roughly 15 feet. But if you wanted to, you could stop just as short or just as quick as the 3/8 skate. You would just lean more, and now you're in a better striding position. And so where did this start for me? Well, I grew up a 3/8 skater. I was a very fast skater, right? And so I was probably like you are right now, basically saying, I don't believe what this guy is saying. And that's how I felt. I was really fast, and in my mind, if you're really fast, you need extra grippy skates because you're going to need that ability to dig into the ice. And it wasn't until I was actually playing professional that my equipment manager basically took my skates and said, John, this is how they do it in the NHL. This is how your skates are getting set up. And who was I to say, right? I was a rookie at the time, and I wasn't going to tell this equipment manager that, I knew more than him. So I was like, fine, I'll try it. Now, keep in mind, I was crazy uncomfortable with this idea. I had skated on 3/8 skates essentially all of my life. And now here I am in my first year playing pro hockey, and my skates are changing. And after about a week, 2 weeks, I loved it. It wasn't until a couple years ago I was talking to the USA Olympic skating coach. We were having a conversation about some studies and research they've done in the NHL. And what they've done or pulled back the curtain on is that there's a direct correlation between the hollow, the depth of the hollow, and groin and hip injuries, fatigue, and acceleration. And I found that fascinating. And the research shows that the shallower the hollow, the less of a risk of injury in the groin and hip. It's not getting overworked, and they're actually having to use less energy to skate, which is why they glide more. And it actually equated to being about 25% energy usage. That's incredible when you look at, a full 60-minute game. And furthermore, they actually found that the player accelerated faster because of the ankle position it got put in. And so there's 3 major reasons why you should consider moving your hollow to a 3/4, 7/8, or even 1 inch. And so the question is, John, what do you recommend? Well, if you're working with me for the first time, I normally start you off at 3/4. And my recommendation is not just 3/4, it's normally 3/4 flat bottom. Now, the difference between a traditional versus a flat bottom is that traditional is more of a full arc shape, right? Think of it like a bridge. It's got that natural arc shape, whereas flat bottom looks more like a V. And so the actual original name was called flat bottom V. Sparks came around, and I'm guessing for some legality reasons, they had to name it something slightly different, so they call it flat bottom fire. So if you have a Sparks at home, the ring that we personally use is called the 3/4 fire ring. And people ask, does it really make a difference? Yes. I am a big fan of the flat bottom, and I'm a big fan of moving your hollow away from the 3/8, away from the 1/2, and getting into that 3/4. And I even have some college players that are at 1 inch and even shallower. So today we learned a lot about skating mechanics. We also understand the connection now that a skate that slides can still stop just as quickly, but if it wants to stop quickly, it has to get into a more bent position. Well, that position is going to be a better acceleration position. It's also going to allow us to glide better, and it's going to reduce injuries. So that is why I move my players away from 3/8 and towards a 3/4 and even higher, or shallower, however you want to look at it. So next time you ask me, Coach, what should I sharpen my skates at? You'll now know 3/4 fire is a good spot to start, and then you can kind of navigate slightly up or slightly down of what works best for you. This is X7 Hockey Talk. My name is John Swanson. I hopefully found this valuable video, and if you learned something about the bottom of your steel today, please give it a comment. And if you're about to drop a comment and vilify me about this, here's my challenge. Try it for 2 weeks before you comment. Then let me know your opinion. But please don't leave your comment if you actually haven't given this a shot, because I do think it's going to surprise you, and I do think it will benefit you. All right, that's it. Thanks for listening. Until next time.